good. I hope you're all well. And yes, and guys, thank you for supporting the channel. And if you are new here, I'm Tisha Oliphant, and this channel is about my corporate journey and your contributions, your journey in your workspace. It is also about investing and taking care of the money that you work hard for, and also to remember to live your dream, to not sleep on your dreams, aspirations, and everything else that you work hard for. So today I would love us to talk about the fact that buying or renting a property is a personal decision. And thank you for liking. And as you come in, just double tap the screen and do like the video. I would love to keep it short, guys. The way I hope and wish one day my videos will be 5 minutes, but I hope one day it will happen. But always remember, you first, the ghosted lady. I can see. Welcome, welcome. A blessed Sunday. Guys, let's always be conscious of the fact that buying a property or renting a property is a personal decision. And I think we are all adults. And if you still thought you were young, the minute you sign that offer to purchase, please consider yourself an adult and pat yourself on the back. And as adults, we cannot allow pressures of this world to force us to do things that we don't agree with, or the expectations that we must conform to the societal expectations. It's a new generation. A lot is happening on social media platforms. People are gloating about their achievements, which is a good thing. We ought to see those testimonies. Hi, Nogzola. Good afternoon, Nogukanyo. But when you see someone achieving something, when you see someone showing their keys to their apartment, to their home, to their estate, to their villa, please, guys, know it is their personal decision. Yes, there's people who are impulsive buyers. Even if you sit with them and you ask them, have you looked at your financials? Have you done a risk assessment? What's your risk tolerance? Where are you at this point in time financially in terms of what are your expenses? Are your children at school? Sorry, guys, are they still in primary school? Are your kids in varsity? They still go ahead and make big commitments, such as buying houses, even when their finances don't allow them to, even when they still have debts, unsecured debt that cost them an arm and a leg. That is over 20% interest that is charged on that debt on a monthly basis. But I just want us to remind each other, to remind one another, ukuthi, when someone decides to rent a place to stay, it is not a bad decision. It's because they sat down with themselves and they were honest with themselves, and they took into their considerations the costs that are involved with buying a property. And they said, for now, I'd rather rent. When I'm financially stable, when I've got extra, when I've received that promotion, when that business that I'm starting or the side hustle is where I would love it to be, then maybe I'll look into buying. But for now, my financials says rent, 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 rent. Therefore, I will rent. See, a person is showing us their property, their garden, their keys to the property. And the first thing, before you even congratulate a person, yo, is it yours or it belongs to a bank? Are you renting or you bought it? Why would you buy it? Why would you rent it out? Why didn't you buy? Those are personal questions. And guys, with everything else in life, we ought to remember, hi Bonsile, welcome my baby girl. We ought to remember that there's advantages and disadvantages. And when people chooses a certain thing over the other, they looked into it, they analyzed it, and they realized, Gucci, for them, because remember, it's not a group work. You don't buy or rent to impress unless you chose that life. But if you are someone who's a logical thinker, who's okay up there, who's not fazed by trends and what are your friends up to and the Joneses and the neighbors, you make personal decisions, and you ought to be very, very transparent. You ought to be very, very honest when it comes to your finances. So at this point in time, if Bonsile decides to rent a place to stay for the next 3 years, 5 years, instead of buying it, I have no rights as a property owner to say, if I were you, I would have bought it. You are buying, why do you rent? Why can't you just buy? And guys, you love that line that says, why pay someone else's a bond? And you forget to go to where. Now, when you wake up tomorrow morning and go to someone else's company, why don't you ask yourself, why am I going to someone else's company? Why am I making this person rich? Then why are you not working for yourself? Why are you working for why are you not working for your family? Shoot, patience, your mom is here. Shoot. And there's a reason. When I bought this t-shirt that year, I was even shocked that it was 2011. I never went in and I bought it and say, why am I buying this t-shirt? I'm paying the seller's bond. But when it comes to people who are renting the properties for whatever reasons that they have, people are quick to criticize them. Oh, that's not your place. Guys, even if you have a bond, it's not your place until you've paid that bond up and you are sitting with your title deed, or the title deed is still with the bank. However, that home, that house, that cluster is paid up. That commercial property, that retail property is paid up. It's still not yours. So you could be in the same situation as this person that you are criticizing, because tomorrow is unknown. Now and tomorrow you might find yourself struggling to pay off a bond and having to let go, having to call the bank and say, unfortunately, I can no longer meet my financial obligations because I've been retrenched, because I'm no longer healthy to go to work, or you know, we grew up told some people get bored at work, and that term used to shock me a bit. But I just want to say, guys, let's sit down with ourselves. Let's be honest. Before you jump into buying a property, look into your financials. Maybe sit with a certified financial advisor again, or your broker, and ask. Because remember, when the calculations are done, they always use a rule of thumb. Your bond repayment cannot exceed 30% of your income. So this means if you earn 10,000 rands and it's your gross, not your take home, you cannot have a bond that expects you to pay it off with 5,000 rands. Your cutoff is 3,000. Now I'm talking 10%, 30%. So go 10, it will be 10, 10, 10. That is 3. I think I'm still correct by saying that is 3,000. If your take home, not your take home, your gross of your income yako is 10,000. So look now and say, how much am I earning? Take your gross and calculate. And guys, remember, taking your expenses, all your expenses into consideration, including entertainment, because it's still part of your expenses. If you've got a car payment, all school fees, after that, you cannot possibly be allowed by a bank, and some people get declined for that reason, to have a bond repayment that exceeds 30% of your gross income. And if you've got other income, like income from your property, they do take those into consideration, but they give a very small percentage. I forgot how much is taken into consideration, or it's 60% of those rental income. So it's not a full amount that will be considered when you go and apply for a bond, a bank. But today I don't want to get into detail about what the documentations are and all that. And I hope we do have someone here who works in that space, maybe more SA bonds, SA home loans, who can come and tell us what they look into, your credit score, the 30% that I'm talking about, what else you need to start doing before, in preparation applying for a bond. This is for the person who says, now I want to buy. I am ready to buy. And it could be someone who comes straight from their parents' home and go directly into buying a space. And it could be someone who's been renting over years and is now ready, because financially, emotionally, and psychologically and spiritually, they're ready to own a house. Because guys, just being able to pay your bond is not enough to say when you afford to own a house. There's more to owning a property than just being able to pay a bond or meet a financial obligation, a bond repayment. There's maintenance, guys. There's rates and taxes. There's insurance. People like us who lives in Johannesburg, in cities or suburbs where we know kuna high crime rates and all that, you can't just have a house and not have bucklers and not have a alarm system or security company that comes and patrols and checks, and you've got your panic buttons. All those things comes at the cost. Even pick it up, the rubbish bins that are collected on a certain day of the week, those are expenses. So don't just think, oh, I'm buying a house for 1 million rands. The bond is most probably 11,000 rands. And that's it. I can afford 11,000. It doesn't exceed the 30% of my gross income. What about your electricity? We're now saying if you switch to this prepaid electricity, yay, kuyafiwa lapha ka prepaid. What about water? What about what I've already mentioned? Sometimes the geyser bursts. Those are the reality that property owners are sitting with. You in your home, the next thing, the wall just falls. And some people, when you ought to disclose when you are selling your property, but some people do not disclose problems that I'm looking for this word, the problems that comes with the property. They'll tell you, no, all is well. The next thing, the property has a rising damp. When you just bought, you're still trying to come to terms and digesting this new bond repayment, which is fresh for you. You've never owned a bond before, so you're really adjusting. You're tightening your belts. Uznisha the restaurant dates that you used to go to. You've cut out going on holidays with friends. A get together, because now you've got this big responsibility of owning a property, which is awesome. Congratulations. You've made it in life. But please always remember, it just doesn't end when you sign on that dotted line, when the bank debits your account, whether on the 20th or 15th or 30th, there's more to owning. So when someone decides, I'm not going to own, it's because of so many reasons. Other people own properties, guys. They've got a property portfolio, but they choose to rent because it doesn't make financial sense when you now know the game. Your owner, yeah, your investor in that asset class, ukuthi how to go about to reduce your taxes. So that person will decide, good, now that I've got my portfolio, I've got maybe 8 properties, it really doesn't make business sense or investment sense to buy a property to reside in. They only buy properties that brings them money, that is all about a cash flow and ebaletheli income. The property that they use as a residential place to stay, they renting. So you see someone renting because some people are not open-minded or they've never played in these fields. They don't think far. This person could be owning properties. There you are laughing. Oh, we are rent a shame. Agana mali. They don't earn enough. Never equate someone who rents a property or assume if someone rents a property, it means they are broke. It means they can't afford. Some people don't work in jobs that are stable. So 1 year they in a certain city, the following year they need to relocate to another city, another province. So it doesn't make financial sense to them to buy and own a property because they get maybe subsidy. We do not know. Hence I'm saying owning or renting is a personal decision. So don't look at things with face value, like how people will look at someone who drives a Toyota Tez and assume that person is broke, or someone who drives a Quid and assume that person doesn't earn enough, that person's financial state is teka-taking, and you are looking at a millionaire. So the same concept applies. And I want to urge you, but before you decide on buying, yes, buying is an achievement as well. If you do it right, if you buy at the right place, location. If you buy below market value, negotiating. And if you can afford, you don't put yourself into more debt and you are aware of other costs that are involved. It's not just bond repayment. I have to now make sure my emergency fund is healthy in case this happens. Because even if you've got insurance and your geyser bursts, remember guys, there's excess fee. And when you go for that insurance, which will do a separate topic altogether, don't get fascinated with, oh, the premiums are low. Guys, look at things holistically. Like how we're saying now, don't look at any aspect of your life in isolation. So don't say, okay, I can afford 11,000 bond or 15,000 or 30,000 bond, so therefore I'm going to buy a property. Can you afford a levy if that property comes with levies as well? My daughter was telling me that there's a property in Kilani, the levies they are around what, 15,000 or 18,000. So some people are used to complaining over 2,000 rands levy, 3,000 rands levy. So whether you see this awesome apartment or awesome a villa and you think to yourself, penthouse lapha elona kubo Parkhurst, and you think, Sandhurst. I wanted to say Sandhurst, one of the areas as it uba high. And you think, oh, Inanda, you think I can afford this. Take into considerations all the costs. And when we're buying a property, guys, we know there's also some banks don't cover 100% of a bond, so you must pay a 30%, or they'll give you 90% bond or 80% bond, which means 20% will come out of your own pockets. And siyayazi 20% on that bond amount, which you have to calculate. That 20% can even amount to about 80,000, 100,000, depending on what bond amount the bank is willing to give to you, and how much you have to come through. If they give you 100% bond, you are sorted. If they give you 120% bond, you are even more sharp, because then others use the difference, 20%, to pay for transfer fees. There's attorney fees that are involved. So there's monies that you ought to pre-plan and pre-save for before you jump into buying and saying, now I'm an owner of a property. And even once you've bought, there's so much that comes with it. Some banks will give you a bond up to 20 years to repay it. Others 30 years, like how you buy a car now, and to reduce the repayment amount, bakushaya a balloon payment. Guys, go in nazi. I'm not saying buying a property has a balloon payment. Thank you, Lord, at the end of the paying of the property. However, a bank is able to reduce your repayment amount so that they stretch the duration of you paying of the property. So instead of saying we're giving you, or we lender 1 million, you'll have to repay us so much money over 20,000, when they over 20 years, sorry. When they realize, Gucci, your finances are not where they're supposed to be, they will add another 10 years. Then they will say to you, we are lending you 2 million over a 30-year period, and then reduce your repayment amount. So there's a lot that you need to sit down with yourself, because it's not a group project. And even if you are married as a couple, bring your spouse to the table and say, what are you bringing to the table? Guys, it's not about that, but my dry sense of humor. But you say, we are now getting into this big commitment. Where are your pay slips, which is something you should have seen years before this? And here I'm still talking about while you are planning. How much are we gonna save on a monthly basis to make sure, Gucci, we've got enough in 2 years' time when we buy our place? We've got our attorney fees, which comes with transfer fees. Guys, there's even ifika fee. There's lots of fees that just adds up. But please negotiate with the attorney. But remember, when you are buying a property, in most cases, the seller is the one who has a right to appoint the attorney, a transferring conveyance attorney, who will transfer the property from the seller's name into your name. So when you sit with your spouse, you break down all that. What are we going to cut down if your financials don't allow you to still live the way you are currently living, and still be able to afford this home, and still be able to invest for AMA transfer fees and all the costs and the deposits and everything that comes with it, and say, what are we going to cut down? Are we maybe only going to go on holiday once a year instead of 3 times a year like we used to, and start putting monies away? Because guys, there's a lot that comes with buying a property. Yes, it's doable, but it comes with proper planning. It comes with honesty when it comes to your financials. It comes with sitting down and doing your research and see Are there any other costs that you could maybe not be aware of? You're sitting here and thinking, if I can just afford the bond, I'm sorted. Can't. As I've already said, there's more. There's insurance. You find Gucci, your bond repayment is only 7,000 rands per month, but when they add the homeowner's insurance, it shoots up. When we now add the levies, you're no longer only paying 7,000 rands, you're paying more. And when I was still young, and I've shared this before, I used to have a friend who used to sell houses as a side. We worked for the same company. And she would say to me every time we would talk about, oh, the levies are a killer. And I meant from my point of view, when I bought a sectional title at the time, she would say, those are second bonds, because some levies can be closed. You look at the bond repayment, you look at all these expenses that comes with buying this property, you realize, good matter, the difference is so minimal. So I'm sitting with two bonds, here I'm sitting here paying the bank 10,000, and yet when I look at all these expenses, securities, levies, and guys, now there's levy for sewer, there's levy for water. There's just a lot, and look at each and every line. And before you say, I can afford this house, including the maintenance of it, or the monthly charges rather, we haven't even touched the maintenance. Ask for the statement from the seller and look at each and every line and see more or less how much that person is currently paying. And your case will be different, because you'll find Gucci when you're buying solo, no cat, no dog, no child, no nothing. Uzihambela so. Oh, what an amazing life. The seller had children, had pets, had, siblings and all that. And maybe that's why some of the amounts, such as electricity, which is charged according to consumption, is a bit high. But there are others, like Amalevi, if they don't charge them per square meter, which yours is a 2-bedroom and the neighbor's house is 1-bedroom, therefore yours will be slightly higher. Utoguchi, you all set, same square meters, same size apartments, so those amounts will remain the same. They won't fluctuate. Also, guys, some amounts will fluctuate. You have to take that into consideration. But the main purpose of this video is to say, when someone decides to rent and say, I'm not buying as yet because of whatever. And guys, there's millions of reasons why people don't own properties, or they not ready as yet to commit into buying a property. And in some cases, it's because financially they're not there yet. And some people, the kind of a property that they want is higher, class, so it's on another level compared to where they are at financially. It's like someone who just started working, but they want to drive one of the German cars. They know their salary don't allow them as yet. They haven't inherited. It's different if you've got an investment that's paying out a lump sum, you can buy the German car. But if you just started clean, no monies that are gonna paid in your name, obviously to rush for a German car, last number, top of the range, with all the nitty-gritties, sunroof, and will cost you more. So other people, they rather wait. Take the taxi, take the bus, use the train when they are financially ready, because we all are different, guys. They'll tell you straight, I'm not about to drive an entry-level car, whether it's an i10 or a Quid or those entry-level. I want to come in the game on a higher note. They will wait. So same applies to when someone decides to continue renting before committing into buying a property. It's because maybe that person would want to buy in an estate. They want to rather go to Abo Strain City. They want to go to Abo Eye of Africa, and they rather continue renting, and only when their financials allow them to go live in those in upmarket estates, then, or buy in an upmarket area, but it's that or nothing. So there are different reasons. So for me to see some people criticizing people who decided to rent and have nasty comments, oh, you're paying someone else's bond, but you also paying someone else's bond by going and working every day, because sometimes even what they pay you for your time is not equivalent to what they're making. So guys, we all make decisions that are based on what makes sense to us at that point in time. And let's just see what is patience wanting to ask. Okay, if you're paying house installments, is it possible to save the whole amount? Maybe after 4 years you pay it up same time, or is it not allowed? No, sis, when they say bond repayment and they calculate 20%, that is a minimum standard, but there's people who've paid off their bonds in 4 years, in 5 years, in 7 years. If you pay extra, that's why people who are financially savvy and who are gurus with financial industry will encourage, and guys, this is not financial advice. This is my disclaimer now. Speak to your financial advisor. They will encourage you to, even if you pay an extra 50 rands, and there's calculators, guys. We live in an era where so much is out there, but it is left up to us to make use of these tools. If you go on a bond repayment calculator and you say, okay, my finances say I can now afford to buy, because that's where it starts. If it still says rent munu, bayeke bakhulume bagcine la bagcina khona, it has absolutely bugger all to do with you. Bugger all. If you are ready and financially you see what you are stable, even in where your income is coming from, or be it your job or alimony from your husband, your ex-husband abroad, then you can say, okay, now I'm buying. I want to own a property. Go use a financial calculator. You calculate your bond. And once you decide, I would love to buy a property for 5 million, for instance, put it there. It will even calculate for you, if the bank gives you 80%, how much deposit you'll be expected to pay. What will be the transfer costs, the transfer fees, the attorney fees and conveyance fees. It will tell you, if you want to pay off this bond in 5 years or 7 years, how much extra you ought to pay on a monthly basis to be able to pay off the bond. So 20 years doesn't mean only pay the minimum required or the bond repayment amount. You can pay off your bond in 5 years, you can pay off your bond in 7 years, 11 years, you would have still saved interest. Because remember, guys, you get a bond for 1 million, but you end up paying a bank like about 2.5 or 2.3. Go again on that calculator. It will tell you exactly, for a bond of 4 million, how many millions extra you'll be paying to your bank. And when you look at that amount, it just breaks your heart. And when it does, that's where you say, no, you know what? Let me see how much I can pay extra, so that I reduce this interest, so that I reduce the number of years. So you can, it is possible to save, but remember, don't save where you're not getting any returns, or that savings doesn't pay you interest, which is enough to even save. Make sure you look into financial institutions that pays you at least interest that will beat inflation. Then when you save like that, you really can say, okay, it made sense, because you don't want to save and it's the same as putting your money under the mattress. But again, guys, no one will penalize you. Other people will say, if you pay off your bond much quicker, the bank will penalize you. Yes, some banks, I wonder if they still do. Guys, I always say, even if the laws were like this 5 years ago, I tell you, even with traveling, find out today as we sit here, what are the laws, what are the rules. So when you are ready to pay off your bond in 5 years, you are paying it off, not the 20 years that was stated. You now giving them your the final amount, and you are gonna call them obviously and ask them what's the payoff amount. But before you do that, ask them, will I be penalized? Guys, it is a relationship, so you can't sit in your corner and wonder, will the bank penalize me and charge me if I pay my bond sooner? I've never seen a bank doing that, but there are banks that prefer, if it's still like that. Years back, when I still worked for the bank, there were banks that expected customers to give them a heads up. Maybe, we back office yabo, they needed to adjust, because remember, they were still waiting to milk you some more, because remember, they make money out of you when they lend you that bonds amount bayakumilka, darling, for the next 20 years. They chow you clean, and they use that amount to invest elsewhere. Remember, guys, baku business now. So I think giving them the heads up, Gucci, you're gonna pay your bond much quicker, helped them with their budgeting, focusing, and planning all the financial side of things. But if they don't do it anymore, you can pay off your bond in 1 year. Take a bond, 20-year bond, and it says 6,000 a month. When you happen to get a groot lump sum in 1 year, you've paid off your bond. It has happened for others, and it can certainly happen to you as well. 11 years, others have 30 years bond, because, excuse me, at the time they applied for the bond, they couldn't afford the repayment amount that was calculated over the 20-year period. But during their lives, we are on the journey, and they upgraded their careers, they started businesses. Guys, sometimes you wake up, you like, I slept like a centennial and I woke up like a millionaire. Things do happen. They took that money and they paid their bond. So that bond was no longer paid over a period of 30 years. It was paid over for a shorter duration. So, Sissy, the answer is yes. No one can stop you. And we will talk about cars next time, but this is directly go bond. But even with your car, you can definitely, even with the car that has a balloon payment, guys, please do not take cars as a balloon payment. I beg you, I plead with you, no matter how much you love that car, just wait a bit, save some more, look for something else, because it is a killer. And always ask yourself, if I don't have 200,000 now, where will I really raise 200,000 in 5 years' time? Maybe you might inherit some money. Maybe you've got an investment that might pay out in 5 years' time. But do you really want to take that money and use it towards this car that has now lost value? It's a liability to start with. It's not even an asset. Generating loan, which generates like income generating asset, where you can say, okay, here I am having to carve out 200,000, but it's okay. On a monthly basis, I'll be able to cover this kind of money. But yes, let's see before I continue. Uthi no patients, uthi the levy is fixed, or it depends on how many time you go in and out in the estate. Can you do a stop order for levy, or it's better to pay it monthly? No, patients, a levy is a monthly fee, like how you every month you'll be expected to pay your bond. The bank will come into your transactional account or check account or savings account and take a certain amount that you would have agreed with the bond when you borrowed that million rand, the 500,000, the 200,000, depending on how much you borrowed from the bank to buy your property. Then on a monthly basis, the bond repayment will be deducted on a date that you will provide to a bank. So in most cases, if your salary comes through May 15, it will be the 15th of every single month without fail, even if you are broke. That's why you'll end up going on arrears if they cannot find what you owe them. Because remember, it's a scult. You are about kolota. Same thing. So you've got this bond that you are paying on a monthly basis. You now have these other fees and costs, and not only levies. So if it's a sectional title, it comes with levies. And now some sectional titles have even the rates and taxes, because now they divided them. They fall under section whatever. Just find out before you buy. That's why I need to always request a statement from the seller before you even sign. You can't sign an offer to purchase when you don't know what are we to at the end of this deal, So levies are deducted, or you'll pay your levies every single month, even when your bond has been paid up. Ile kwelete za forever and ever. Amen. So even if you save the money and you pay off your bond in 4 years, like how you wish, and may God grant your wish, when a patience, work hard towards it. Don't just pray for it and leave it there. Remember, with levies will remain with you as long as you are an owner. That title deed, good deed office, iti patience and park, those levies will be paid by you until you hand over ownership in a form of selling that property. And yes, most levies are on a monthly basis. And like I said, it's not just levies. Just like electricity, it's a daily thing depending on how often you use your electricity, or weekly. Levies are monthly. Water repayment, pick it up, is also included on a monthly basis. If you've got security guards in that complex, what they normally do is you'll share the costs amongst all the owners, and you will have to pay your portion every single month. The next question is, do you do a stop order, or you pay them on a monthly? In fact, I think it will be more of a debit order. It is some places, because some people default, and we know there's a high number of people who don't honor their financial obligations. So some complexes or managing agents, because remember, with sectional titles, flats, apartments, the body corporate will appoint a managing agent to manage the complex. They prefer people to sign debit orders, ukuthi on a monthly basis, this is what you pay. And levies, in most cases, or all the time, are fixed until there's an annual general meeting of all the owners. And when the quorum is met, that's where you discuss the financials, the building, and then you look into expenses. Is this building healthy in terms of financials? If there's owners that are not paying on time, and it has led to financials while you're building to teka, chances are the levies will go up. Like how when you are renting, your landlord will tell you, or even when you sign the lease, that we will increase the rental amounts on an annual basis by 5%, 7%, 10%, depending on the area, depending on landlord yakho. So levies the same concept apply. Yes, it's a fixed amount on a monthly basis. You can transfer it, EFT them if that body corporate allows it, but there are ones where if they've had a lot of defaults or owners about dodging the bullets, up because now you buy it more than you can chew. I can own this thing. If lady has a house and she's an owner, amanzi amancane, angithi you know those people. Hayi mekane own indlu yini uku-owner, why rent angiyothenga. You don't know lady's situation. You don't know how disciplined she is. You don't know she's been investing for years. You don't know lady could have inherited, or she had parents who make sure they take care of her, and now her monies are paid out. There's a lot, guys. You don't know lady has side businesses while you are sleeping. She's most probably teaching English in China. When she's earning monies in dollars, in pounds. And I don't know why you would earn in dollars. Yeah, you do. Even if you teach English in China, you still get your money through dollars to paper. So do not look at your friend, even your colleague, same position, same job title, and because she's buying a property, you think, nami ngiyothenga next year. Sit down, look at your financial situation. Can you afford these other expenses besides your levy? So to answer you, Sissy, yes, levies are expected from you as an owner, and some estates don't just pay levies. There's more, Sissy. And levies differs from property to property. Like I said, my child saw one property in Kilani where the levies were like 12,000 or 15,000 levies only. We're not talking electricity, water, security, and any other payments. Garden services, some places there's garden services as well. Some places you get laundry services where they come and take your clothes and iron them. Guys, abantu bahlala kuma-lifestyle estates, where everything is done. Some places have a chef. You just go, you order the food, you find it is included there. So at least some costs, such as the laundry, some areas can say you are not forced, it's not compulsory, so you can save if you don't have enough. But another thing, guys, don't put yourself guma bulldogs when you are still a puppy. One day we'll all be bulldogs because you're just gonna drown. If you cannot swim, stay lapha kusho. Dlalela la ekuqaleni kolwandle. You will be able to surf as time goes on with practice and all that. Because some people go and really, really overcommit themselves. Their situation don't allow as yet. Because if you can't afford now a house that costs 4 million and it's your dream, remember, it's not everyone's dream to live in a state. So if it's your dream, but 10 million is not an amount that you have currently, it doesn't mean 5 years from now you won't have it. If you have measures in place to be able to afford the 10 million estate property, or to be able to afford repayments. I always say, if you buy a 10 million house, I'm sure deposit yako should be in millions, because I just don't see you go in just with the one salary, or you should be having multiple streams of income, or maybe you holding a senior position, which even that I'm thinking, if they decide to show you a door and they say, as go rough lapa, go corporate, then what do you do? But do not try and overcommit yourself and say, I want it and I want it now. You will always have it at the right time. When the time is right, God, your God, will make it happen. Agusho mina saying no God, but gusho iBhayibheli. So that also helps. But always know, levy, even if your bond has been paid up, and now you are breathing, your levies will always be there for you to pay, and they go up every year like everything else, food, electricity. And I think our food and electricity and petrol goes up not just annually, sometimes every month. Still with the electricity is the electricity is annually, the petrol is going up. It's going up now. We are breathing because it is coming down. I hope I was able to answer your questions, patience. And if you need clarity, do let me know, sis. Thanks for contributing. What would happen to me if I were like the size office and stuck on you? Oh, okay, very interesting. Yazi ngithi uza ngento serious. Just 2 minutes, guys. I just want to sort out this, and then we will continue. Gay peace. I think I've removed that person. The levy is fixed. Okay. So Leti, hi Sissy. I saw you. Utembi Cele. Afternoon, mommy, and everyone in the platform. Afternoon, Sissy. Uno, Uti, what are you yapping about? I don't know whether you're saying it with respect, but nje, you don't come into a person's house and use such lingo just to teach you a lesson, because the caption is there. Unless you can't read, you want us to teach you how to read. Thanks. Okay, pleasure, Sisi. And then ulwandle sawubona sithandwa Magatsheni. Unjani welwandle? Ubonisile with the hearts. Waze washo kamnandi sisi, wathi uboya benyanga. So I wanted to clarify that. And guys, when you own, oh, it is awesome. You know, I've got my own property, guys. I can sleep till late, and I don't have to answer or report to anybody. I open my gates any time of the day, you know, says the young people when they acquire their properties. And in most cases, we have housewarming parties and we celebrate with them because it is a big achievement. And like I said, Guti, it's not only the levies, there's other costs. And guys, it can be a headache. You know, there's times like now, I'll give you an example, and maybe that's why I did this live over a different live that I wanted to do. There's a pipe in one of the neighbors' driveway that burst. And as a result, thank you very much. I'm answered. Okay, thanks, sis. And all the best, sweetheart. And we ought to take a leap of faith and build that generational wealth. And like I said, property is one of the assets you can use, you know, to create build a wealth for yourself and a future generation. So all the best with that, sis, and do your homework. Do it over and over, but don't do it until you age and you don't tap into a property space. Just know what you're getting into. Make sure all your questions are answered. Where you are unclear, remember your estate agent, the person who will help you find your dream property, will be there to guide you, will be there to answer your questions. Ask your family members who've walked this journey, the ones that can be trusted, the ones that don't hold back information, and the ones that won't say, I was, you know, like misery loves company. They are drowning. They want Abantu to join them. It's not that bad. Ask someone who will be honest and tell you things for what they are. If buying has left them with so much headache, they tell you and they state why they say that. And it won't be the same for you because we all are different. You're going to plan better. Most probably you're in a much better situation financially. And when they went and owned or bought a property, they were not there yet. Like I said, some people who rush to go in Guma Estate to about 10 million, and financially they only afford a 1 million house, a 5 million house, but not 10. And as time goes on, maybe they were going to afford the 10, but now because they've messed up their lives, the credit score, they're owing now this one, they've defaulted. It can be a nightmare. And guys, if you don't manage your finances, you can live a miserable life. And if you never sit down and say, I've been drowning, I've been paying everyone else but myself. I'm talking about someone who never got a proper financial management guide and how to, you know, until you say, genoeg is genoeg. This money is mine. I want to own it. I want to have the first say. No one should just come and take and go as they please, and you sit and you make it right. It can mess up your life, guys, when you are not financially stable or financially wealthy and healthy, and where your finances are supposed to be. Some people will tell you straight, I might not be wealthy, but I'm okay. I'm okay. And that's all you need sometimes. If you're not like us who push for more and more and more, you say, I just want to be okay, until you sit down, uthi, ngizwile, ngizwile. It clocks in no time it's out. How can I sort this out? And if you need professionals to assist you, and guys, pray to get the right people. Don't grab people who will be looking into just charging you and filling up their back pockets. Find people who will really assist you to get your finances from a poor state or unhealthy state into a healthy state. And once that is sorted, guys, you will deal with other challenges of life, because life has its own challenges, but you certainly don't want finances to be the core, or sleepless nights, stress, you are dull, glowy, you've got pimples breaking out. Guys, you are becoming obese because now you're just eating and eating, and you're not facing this actual problem that you can just speak to the right person. Actually, let me hold you with a hand. And guys, no, you will ought to pay, for abantu assist when you are really now ubona ukuthi no, there's no get it. But it starts with acknowledging ukuthi I'm deep NDKAK. How do I get out? And then in no time, it might take 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending. But imagine the life you live after that, by just making the right decisions, by just focusing and sacrifice and fasting, depriving yourself of certain things, and fasting, you should fast ubumnandi sometimes for just a certain period to boost yourself. So I was saying, one of the neighbors' driveway, the pipe that feeds our water has burst. So what did that? And it happened on, I think, Saturday. That means we are now without water. And I was thinking to myself, it is good and well and awesome to own a house. It is one of the things that some people pray for, and they never get to live. They never get to live to see them. But hey, now you're not so own. Boy, oh boy. Hey, it will show you flames when it will be the geyser that burst. Sometimes you leave your house, you wonder, what is this now that's happening here? There's pipes, underground pipes that have just burst. And that's why, guys, you ought to have these insurances. You have to have emergency funds for excess funds. If the insurance pays, you're gonna pay the excess fee. I mean, so not while you enjoying your house. Oh, mina guys, I praise and glorify. Oh, I don't have to say to people. I say to God who gave me this house, and say, oh, thank you, Lord. Let me grab my hot chocolate. Gami. It is so nice, because I could afford at the time. And if I didn't afford, I was going to rent. And no one was going to tell me otherwise. But no, Uguti, there's constant maintenance that comes with it. And there's people who say, now I want a bigger space. Some people love those old houses. Guys, old houses comes with space for days. But remember, because the structures are old. You find good, the pipes are old, the walls now, the cement has been there for years. You constantly have to maintain the house. The doors are giving up. You find yourself buying one door, the next thing is the bedroom. You end up having to change at the doors. You open the basin in one bathroom, you go to the next bathroom, the taps are giving up. So when you make a decision, ukuthi now it's the right time to buy a property and ngibe umastandi or ngi-own, whatever names that we say when we own our properties, which are amazing names to praise and glorify and say, I've achieved, I've worked hard, I'm glad I could do this. Maybe your father I left this earth without owning not even a piece of land. And it's guys, we ought to own land. And owning land is not just for farming. When you've got a property, you are owning a land. It sits on the land. Sometimes we always think, we don't think or look at the bigger picture. But remember, they'll always, and it doesn't matter how hard you pray, it doesn't matter whether you're God's child, you don't sin, you holy, it comes with the headache. Utusahlezi, enjoying your life, maybe you'll be paid a bonus, planning nicely, bonus yakho, I'll be taking my kids to this and that, I'll be buying them summer clothes. Ihite in problems with the house, and it's things you can't ignore. You find that it's a problem, you cannot carry on living in the house without fixing this particular problem. So I just want to urge you to think about it, be honest, and make sure you get someone. Guys, there's people who went to school, they called, I think there's a word that they use, guys, I need to check and let you know. But before you buy a property, inspectors, for a lack of better word, maybe they are called inspectors, call a professional inspector, like how you do when you buy, before buying a used or pre-loved car, whatever, second-hand car, what passed-down car, whatever you want to call it. You will call a mechanic to come and look at it, to come and check it. I was listening to one of the auctioneers and they were saying, you're not allowed to bring the machine to put it in the car. And I understand, because you can get those mechanics from the streets and they'll end up damaging their cars and all that. But it is important to know what you're putting yourself into. We're talking houses. Get an inspector before you sign an offer to purchase. Get a professional to come and check for these defects that you can't see with your naked eye. Defects that the seller, although guys, you can sue them and there's law that says they ought to disclose, né? If something as big as a leaking is a roof, you just bought, and now spring, the rains will start, and you are enjoying this home. The next thing, I'm a ceiling, because this seller didn't know Gucci, there's a problem with a roof. Sometimes the joiner, and guys, hey, siyafunda, like up owning a property, how it's joined, it wasn't that. And guys, when the roof is a problem, Lord, you will spend money, Ngoba. That one will come and say, I'm the expert and I'll join it for you, and they cut the other. And as you're buying the material, so get someone to check and test, whatever they use, when there's problems, and tell you, yes, you can buy it. These are minor issues. Go ahead, because you don't rush into buying and you sit with endless maintenance. It's like buying a house with a car, ngithole rights, but you're going to, but we'll talk about cars some other time. But I still want to say to you, all my kids, the ones that are listening, the ones that are still going to listen, the ones that are still planning, if you are staying in your parents' house, stay there, darling, Enjoy your mother and your father's money. Nothing beats that. Don't be pressured to live. Even Jesus is still in his father's house. I went and I visited him today. He's there 2,000 years later. Don't rush. Uyozixaka. Only when you are ready financially, or maybe now it has become a two bull story in one crawl. Gucci, you and your mom can now, or your dad say, not eye to eye, but now you saying indoor, then you can go. But if you can still remain there, invest your monies. We spoke about investing in stock. We spoke about buying properties and renting them out. But investing, guys, EFTs. We spoke about other forms of investments. Stay only when you are ready, guys. When you are ready, don't allow pressures. You go, you buy, or you rent. But ungagijimi. And again, this earth has, when guys, I don't want to turn it into a Bible class. The first will be the last will. In life in general, you might do things later in your life, they'll still turn out perfectly. And those who started with these things might still come to you and say, we envy you. We wish we took the same decisions that you took of waiting, of staying with your parents. And if need be, if your parents have a space and you can maybe stay without building, if you can't be in the same house, and assist where you can. But if you've got well-off parents who don't even expect you to pay for groceries and rent and whatever, enjoy it and invest as much as you can from the monies that you could have paid towards renting or towards a bond. And guys, again, I know kunalento yokuthi, yeah, teach them responsibility, teach them what life is. Guys, I mean, Angie, I don't like glorifying such things. When you sit your kids down, guys, we used to get that corporal punishment or being spanked by our parents. But children of today, even us, if you sit them down, you tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly, they understand, guys. We are all human beings. We've got ears, we've got brains. They might be younger, but they do understand. Same concept applies to when you've got adult kids. You don't need to chase them. Let them go in and figure it out themselves. These are adults. They read the news. They on YouTube. They on all these social media platforms. They've been living. They've got friends who owns. They know what comes with owning. They know what comes with renting, unless they turn a blind eye on such matters in life. So for you to chase your kids out when the time is not right and you say, I want to teach them, they will learn. The day they leave, whether at 25, at 18, at 31, they will learn. And if they are living peacefully with respect, and as kids, respect your parents. As parents, you should have taught your kids respect. So I don't think it can start when they become adults and they choosing to stay a bit while in your house while they are investing. Mina, when you say you're renting, congratulations, best decision ever, because it's a personal decision and you've got your reasons why you are renting. And if you'll be renting for the rest of your life, hallelujah. You find someone is renting for the rest of their lives, but they've got assets that outweighs the person who's bought a property and is an owner and has a big mouth to criticize this tenant, that is renting. So we need to know, people won't bring us their net worth, this is where I'm at, this is how much I have. And they've got assets. People have things, guys. You know, I was laughing at this big joke where someone was saying, how we laughing with you guys on these social media platforms, joking together every day. Can't you guys have pension funds? How, when I saw the 2 pots system or 3 pots, including the vested pots, people are now asking, what happens when I withdraw? Can guys, you've got monies that we didn't know you have. Others says, hey, we're sitting with people have passports, they're going overseas on vacation. This shows you, and of course that was a joke, but it might not be a joke. You laugh with people, you go to the same church with people, you go to the same workspace with people, same corporate, you assuming you guys are the same. You're not. You're not. That guy could be renting, but mesngati, let's see. Yeah, that's a millionaire next door, like the book that I read. One day I'll give you a review. And the one who claims, I'm owning. Uthi, already that person is in arrears. Already the bank is trying to attach the property. Already that they've got it listed to Guti. It will be a possessed property. It will be taken over. They're busy with lawyers. They've handed him. And here he is. He's been criticizing a lady, or a lady is criticizing a guy who is renting. There's no rights. There's no wrong, as long as you sit with yourself and you make a personal decision. Because at the end of the day, what do they say? The pillow knows the truth. Nasu yokhala lapha kulela pillow. When the puppet dances, when the dads are here, when the cameras are off and the lights are off, only that pillow knows the truth. And you don't wanna be caught ukuthi it's just a facade, this show off and this. But the truth is, you're not there yet. You shouldn't have bought it. You will be a property owner when the time is right. You were criticizing all the people that are renting, telling them it doesn't make sense. To who? You're talking on behalf of other people's finances that you don't even know. You don't know these people. You meet them on social media. You meet them at work. You maybe stay in the same street, but you just don't know them. So when a person says, even if you've got 2 kids, and the one says, Mom, I'm going to rent, and the other one says, I'm going to buy, sit those kids down, tell them about the pros and cons of both. The one that's renting, you say, my child, remember, with renting, A, B, C, D, you won't have to worry when the pipe has burst. Yes, you might not find yourself with water, but there won't be such thing as special levies. Where's my child who was asking about special levy? And patience, when the financials of that complex are not that great, you will find there's instances during the annual general meeting where the trustees will pass special levy to say, over and above the levies that you are paying, since we can no longer pay for electricity because we've got less in the bank, we don't have reserves, everyone must now cough out 500 rand extra, 1,000 extra for the next 12 months. Those are some of the disadvantages while I'm sectional titles and buying with other people, sharing a space. Whereas when it's a private property, it has its own headaches. Break-ins are found. I don't know. I don't want to talk about things that I don't have stats, but people always fear when it's a private property, security issues and its rise. But you don't sit with other owners that are being carried by the owners that are paying. Bonanje, they riding the wave, but they don't honor their financial obligations like it happens with sectional titles. So if someone is going to rent, the least you can do, or they're renting, they're showing you the keys, is congratulate them. If they've asked you for guidance and advice, unless you are in that space, guys, no comment. A lot of politicians, no comment. There's a reason for that. Because you can't now try and carry on as if you know, but it's coming from your heart, our emotions. We must state facts. If it's your niece who's much younger and you've rented before, tell them as is and tell them that was your personal experience. Theirs might be different, but the main issues could be APs, and state them. But when you rent, anything that breaks, most cases, unless it's negligent, nokuba nje careless, as a tenant, you need to fix that. But if it's a pipe, you just phone the owner. There's water outside. Yes, can you sort it out for us, please? We need to cook. And you're renting. You don't need to stress about that. But when you own, you just maybe put tires, your car, Mac wheels. Remember how they used to be in fashion? You now left, or you just serviced your car, you left with a bank balance that now says 5678 or 678 or 8. There's nothing left, and your tenant or your own house has a burst geyser. There's no calling someone and say, yo, this geyser has messed up my furniture, so how are you gonna compensate me? Can you fix it and tell me what must I do with my couch? I paid 35,000 for this couch. Others say 60,000 rent. You don't have such, guys, when you rent. But if it's your home, the geyser bursts, it's your problem. You need to now scratch, where do you get the excess? That's even if your insurance covers it, and sometimes it's things that you went even away, the insurance does cover. Some things we don't worry about until they hit us hard. So whether you choose to rent, you're still on the right track. If you've got valid reasons and your own personal reasons, and don't listen to anyone until such time financially you are stable, even emotionally, because it can drain you, guys. It's awesome to own, but it comes with so much responsibility. And if you didn't buy the right property, and sometimes we can't know, there's things you only see once you are in, you'll have nightmare after night. There's people who bought their first properties and they've got horror stories to tell, to a point where they are even scared to buy another property. They ended up selling, but they tell you about problems after the other, after the other. So enjoy renting while you are working towards owning. That's if owning is your dream. Don't own because others are owning, because they pressurize you to own. Sibadala for that. Sibadala. When you own, congratulations to you as well. And please always know it is awesome. You can seed it, but please don't seed it to sisters and brothers. Oh, they won't like me. To strangers, maybe let me know. Oh, guys, why would you seed you? Anyway, you've got security in case you need it. Oh, Lord, God, oh, God, I'm thinking of the stories that I've heard. However, it comes with its challenges as well, but it's great because it increases in value, equity, your property. 10 years from now, you can sell that property if you bought it in the right place with the right price, and I know defects and endless monies that are taken out of your pockets, and you can actually make money. And with that money that you make when you sell the property, you can buy another property, a much bigger property, and so forth. So there's good, sorry guys, and bad to both. So sit with yourself and decide for you now what makes sense. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you're gonna come in late, or you were here and you couldn't think of any other question while we were live, please do know you can always drop your questions on the comment section. Do you own? Do you rent? I know people don't like sharing that because, again, it's personal. But if you are free, do share. And what do you love about owning? And what do you love about renting? What are the nightmares that are you facing in terms of owning, and what are the nightmares that you are facing as a person who is renting? And if you've got something that you can suggest and help those who will be first time buyers, because this place, this channel, my corporate journey, is ours. We learn, we exchange. They or patients asked, and someone might have not known what these levies are, or they know but they were unclear how it works, especially if you've never tapped into that field. Someone has now learned something. So teachers, school us. We are here to learn from one another. But if you'll be owning in the future, all the best. Remember, start now to lay that foundation. When I say lay the foundation, I mean preparing for all the costs that are involved. And don't forget to celebrate both. When you move into your rental space, celebrate. It's an achievement. When you move into your own home, celebrate. It's an achievement as well. It's like a financial education, not education per se, but rather a financial assessment. It's personal. We can't, it's not one size fit all. So we can't expect everyone to own. No, because we come from different structures, a different lifestyle, different backgrounds. Our needs are different and our finances are different. What speaks to our souls is completely different. So you need someone who will sit down with you and see which of these two makes sense for you. Like we cannot recommend a same product to everyone. No, you all must have endowment plan and you all must make sure it pays off 200,000. No, for someone else they don't need it. For the next person, they need the one that pays 2 million. Someone else might not be an endowment, rather a retirement annuity. Someone else, no, rather go for gold, because you already have other assets. Same concept applies to when we buy these assets. Some assets will speak to patients, others will suit Sibongile's portfolio better than they'll suit my portfolio. So don't just go with the flow. Oh, just hang on, cryptocurrency. Everyone went for cryptocurrency. Oh, what are we doing? Are we trading? Even the kids at school, they wanted to leave school and go and trade in investing and money making and wealth building and riches creation and all these fancy names, each to their own. Always know that. I might come show you my stocks. If your portfolio doesn't require you to own stocks for whatever personal reasons, you've sat down and you've realized, Gucci, you're not about stocks, rather something completely different. Maybe bonds, or maybe you want to own collectibles, those classic vintage cars or watches, and go for that, sweetie. We cannot all think we all have to rent. We all have to buy. If you are renting, others are buying. It means you are less of a person. Nothing on this earth only belongs to all of us. You can't use us with the blanket approach. No, we are unique. We are individuals. We've got different needs. And I love traveling, and I'm aware that there's people here who just are not moved by traveling. I can show them the most beautiful falls. They're like, oh, ma, we're happy for you. But for them, it is sitting down with their families, braaiing. They rather spend money braaiing and hosting their loved ones and exchanging notes and sharing stories that happened within that family. So always remember, don't go with the hype. Know who you are. You are uniquely, handsomely, and gorgeously made. don't lose focus. Keep well and